Hi, my name is Michael Gilmore from whizbangsblog.com, and I'm also one of the founders of ParkLogic, for those of you who didn't know that. It's so good to have you here with me once again this week, and I'm looking forward to taking you through week 10 of the state of the domain industry analysis in terms of monetization is concerned. And I must admit, I can't believe that we've already got here with 10 weeks of videos. I hope you've enjoyed them, and that each week is giving you further insight into what it means not only to monetize, but how to get the most from your traffic, because that's what we're here, aren't we? We're trying to get the most out of our traffic. But can I just say that it's been really good to be able to spend this time and to develop this series. And I must admit, I think I'm going to continue on with this series, because I've got such great feedback from viewers and readers and everything saying, hey, Michael, that was fantastic. It'd be really, really good if you can keep it going. Maybe it's not a COVID-19 analysis, because we'll get through COVID eventually, but it's really all about the domain industry itself. And so I was thinking about that. I thought, yeah, it really is. This was last week. I renamed it Domain Industry Update. So week 10, without further ado, let me get stuck into things and we'll see how we go. So let's take a look at what's actually happening here and what's actually going on. So the first chart that I've taken you through across the last numbers of weeks has really been centered around the normalized RPM and RPM trends and what's going on with those two trends. And the thing that I found is this, is that if we look at the blue line, and which is normalized RPM, and the red line is the RPM. Now, for those of you who can't remember, the difference is RPM is the revenue divided by views. Normalized RPM is revenue divided by raw traffic. And that's an important distinction to keep in mind. And you can see there is that across the last couple of weeks, they've both been slowly rising, which is great news for domain investors and something quite excited about. Okay, so earnings per click-through rates. As I say there, both CTR and EPC continue the dance, and that's what they do. One goes up, the other one goes down, sorry, the other goes up. The next one goes down, next one goes up. Look, if you ask me, it's all smoke and mirrors. It really is. CTR, for those of you who have paid attention to CTR, look, I pity you, because you're fighting against smart pricing and also the weird and wonderful systems that Google may employ, or other direct advertisers and so forth like that. So it's actually quite difficult to be able to understand this. You could say that EPC is a representative of the demand of advertisers, and that CTR is representative of demand of users. But you have to use that in a real general sense. But what are they doing? Right, they're just going opposite to each other. Okay, so what's happening to volatility? Remember, this is comparing, say, Monday versus the previous Monday, Tuesday versus the previous Tuesday, and so forth. So what's going on volatility? It's slowly, we're in an expansion phase. It's not bouncing around a lot, which is really good. But ultimately, like, anything above 100 is good, 100%. Anything below 100% is bad. But ultimately, you're always going to get some fluctuations. So across the last week, what we've really seen, is, other than, say, the weekends or dip, which occurs, which we'll see that more impacted on the direct advertisers shortly, there really has been a great amount of stability which has occurred. All right, so revenue, Google versus direct advertisers. Who's winning the traffic? That's what this is talking about. And you can see there's been a slow decline. The red line is direct advertisers, blue is Google. Slow decline with direct advertisers. But you know what? It's not much across an extended period of time. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see it swing back the other way. I remember last year, it was literally flipped the reverse. I think it was about July last year. There was more direct advertisers winning more of the revenue than Google. Yeah, so it's something to keep in mind. Keep an eye on that. All right, then this is where it starts to get interesting. Google versus direct advertisers, normalized RPM. So now we've separated out the direct advertisers from Google. Google's blue. So we see the blue line across the last couple of weeks has definitely trended upwards. Now I put a fifth order polynomial trend line on these just so we can see this a little bit better. So hopefully that's managed to do it for us. But and you can see it's been going up, and the direct advertisers have been also going up as well. So overall this impacts revenue, and we can see that the revenue lines have been going up for monetization investors. Now, that big drop that happens, that's the weekend blip in the red line, which is to do with like direct advertisers. For whatever reason, they don't like advertising on the weekend. So if I was running a direct advertising company, I'd be looking at trying to plug that. Because if I could plug that gap, then you get like a whole lot more revenue. Okay, so some of the viewers, once again, they said, can you zoom in on that across the last month rather than since the beginning of the year? So I've done that, and you can see once again there's that trend line up across the last couple of weeks for Google, and also direct advertisers. Other than you've got to pan out the weekend blip just there towards the end, but it's definitely, we're heading in the right direction. All good news. Now, so this is Google versus direct advertising. Remember, and comparing the normalized RPM, now they're on the same axis. All the other axes, like we had Google on one axis and direct advertisers, now that this time it is on the same axis. And the same axis really puts things into perspective. You may say, well, why aren't the direct advertisers eating Google's lunch? They are in certain market verticals. So if you've got finance, traffic, insurance, well, used to be travel, not so much now, not as much travel now, obviously. If you've got these different verticals, then what then occurs is that the direct advertisers win hands down. They really do. So if you've got all your domains with a single, say, parking company, then I can guarantee you're not being exposed to all those direct advertisers as readily, say, you're using a service like ParkLogic. So that's something to keep in mind. That's for sure. So let's take a look what's going on the volatility. And you can see that direct advertisers went down for the weekend, came back up again, but really it's flat. It's relatively flat. Nothing much is happening, which is amazing when you think about it, because when you really think what's going on here, a lot of the direct advertisers, the major direct advertisers, exited the market when COVID came on board, and all that whole thing. And they said, "Oh, we're abandoning the market," and so they stopped advertising online. And but what's occurred is that the EPC rates are really largely maintained. In fact, there was an increase about in April, I think it was, from the stats, an increase in EPC. So there's more demand for traffic. And you think what that means is there was more demand for traffic, even though everyone was told to go online and to work from home. Yeah, so there's an increase of traffic. EPC rates went up. So the level of traffic increase didn't offset the amount of advertisers wanting it. So where did those advertisers come from? They came from, if you ask me, the small to medium businesses. All those guys were sitting around going, oh my gosh, I don't have a shop anymore. It's like no one can go to it or anything like that. I've got to sell something. And so you look at Wix's results. Wix has gone up as an example. And a lot of those website providing companies, they've gone up to the roof. And with the result, they're demanding traffic. They need traffic. And they need good quality traffic, and that's what domains provide. Yeah, so I think that's a great outcome for domain investors, that's for sure. And it's something that I know we're pretty excited about what's going on. So let's take a look at this. Remember, I think it was last week, I first looked at this, and this is a real case study for a real client coming on board with ParkLogic. And yeah, I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit here. I didn't choose this one like, oh, I'll only choose a good one, not a bad one or anything like that, because they typically aren't bad ones. But if we look at the revenue trend, it has just been ramping. This is despite the direct advertisers, a lot of the major advertisers leaving the market and all that sort of stuff. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they come back in. That's the point I wanted to make earlier. But it's just been ramping up and giving a great result for the client. EPC trends and so forth, which is, like I said, it's a bit of smoke and mirrors there. But let's take a look what's going on with the blue line and the red line here. The red line was views. There's some issues at the beginning. Quite often this occurs where we're trying to get stability and so forth. Where's the traffic going to go and everything on the red. But the blue line, which is URLs, has been basically stable, rock solid. Like it's just horizontal. So that means any change in the normalized RPM, which is the blue line on the right, is as a result of optimization. And take a look at that blue line. It is just trending upwards. It's just like, it's going for it. And that's what's really driving the results on the revenue side. So the client is pretty ecstatic. But let's take a look at this other chart. I think this chart really sums things up here. And this one, I must admit, when I came up with this chart a number of years ago, it really struck home the importance of optimization. So if we look at this, now, if you remember, I showed it to you last week, but there's a greater than 100% on the right-hand side, greater than 80, greater than 60, 40. What that's comparing is the current levels of traffic against the baseline. So in other words, I want to know the performance for all domains that are doing at least 80% of the baseline traffic. Because what we're trying to measure is whether optimization is any good and whether it does anything. So for all domains that are doing at least 80% of the baseline traffic, and that's greater than 80%, is 178% uplift in revenue. So that's a significant uplift in revenue, and it's one that the client was pretty happy with, in fact. So normally they get happy with a 5% or whatever. Like so you get these customers and they say things like, oh yeah, what's my rev share? Who cares in many respects? Because like if someone's going to give you a 78% uplift in revenue for any domains with the same sort of traffic as before, then that's an unbelievable result. Yeah, so that's 78%. Now, if we go right down the left-hand end, it has greater than 0%, 109% uplift in revenue. So that's like 10%, almost 10% more than the baseline. And all's 104%. So why is there discrepancy? Because there's a whole lot of domains that did no traffic. And with no traffic, you can't do anything with them. And to be fair, if you're trying to measure whether optimization is working at all, then you've really got to look at domains with at least 80%. So the optimization, the algorithms is 78% so far. So let's take a look at this week. This week, the greater than 80% is now at 200% of the baseline traffic. So all those domains that did at least 80% of the baseline traffic, they had a 200% increase. Now, what does that equate to? That means if you're earning $200 an hour, earning $400 for those domains. And so it's a massive jump. So you look at your own portfolio and you sort of say, okay, so what you're telling me, Michael, is if I have my portfolio, I'm doing like $500 a day in revenue, then I can now do $1,000 a day? Not quite. And the reason why it's only for those domains that are doing at least 80% of the uplift in revenue. But if you look down the curve, though, down the green line there, it's 69% for greater than 60%. It's 47% uplift in revenue for greater than 40%. It's 32% as long as, basically, if there's a dribble of traffic, you're getting a 32% uplift in revenue, which is not too bad. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah, so it's big results. It's a really, really big results. It's one that I'm pretty happy with. To get those sort of uplifts in revenue is the result of 13 years of work. So people have sort of said to me, so what do you actually mean by an uplift in revenue and that sort of stuff? And I say, well, an uplift in revenue is one which is sustainable over time. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it sustainable over time. And the only way of doing that is to ensure that you're always getting the winning solution at any point in time. And that's the key. You've got to make sure you have the winning solution at any point in time. Yeah, so I think that if you really consider what's happening here, is we're taking traffic inbound, say, into ParkLogic. We run an auction in 100 milliseconds, and we send it to the highest performer. But let's imagine that highest performer at that point in time, they lost their advertiser for whatever reason. Okay, the advertiser's gone. So it goes to the second highest performer. Now, if you had all your domains with one company, and without an auction system like this, then what would occur is that the traffic would go off, and then would say, well, I suppose it's going to go to the way down here. Like it's going to go way down versus just next level down. It's going way down. So you're losing out a lot. And we see this time and time again. And it's something that I must admit frustrates me a bit, because it is so easy in being able to extract more from your traffic. So if you've got a portfolio and you're doing like $500 a month or more in revenue, give us a call. Seriously, it doesn't hurt. And if we can increase your revenue, that's a great outcome for you. It'd be very few customers, I must admit, we don't increase revenue for. And that's why we're still here. Like, there's not every company's been around for 13 years, like we have. I think we're one of the oldest. Yeah, because we keep on delivering results, and that's what we focus on. We not only have really great algorithms and that do all the heavy lifting and such. We've got a team that's been stable and together for all that time as well. So we've got that incredible expertise that pulls in to the sophisticated, very sophisticated technology. So like we're tracking 200 different metrics per day per domain, a huge number of different metrics. And the number of data points we're tracking each month is billions and billions and billions and billions. Yeah, what it does also is allows you to focus. And for this particular client we're working with right now, they've looked at this and said, okay, so we're going to get an uplift in revenue. You do all the heavy lifting, and that means we can focus on trying to find more domains. And we said, absolutely, that's what you need to do. Yeah, so it's an exciting thing. I hope you enjoyed these updates, and I'd like to add a few more things in there. I'll probably add a bit more of the case study. How's it actually going? How's it actually unfolding in the coming weeks? But it's these sort of videos that I love getting feedback on. So please keep that feedback coming in, like the video or anything like that. But I just love getting your feedback. Reach out to me personally. And by the way, if you apply for an account at ParkLogic, go to parklogic.com. If you apply for an account, put in there for the list of domains, just put one of them is saw the video on Whizbang's blog. Then we know you're a real person versus a bot. Like we get these fake account applications all the time. So saw your video on Whizbang's blog. Just go ahead and do that, and we'll know you're real. And we'd like to reach out to you, by the way. We want to reach out to you, and the reason why is we like to get to know what the objectives are of clients and so forth. So it's not just about you can get an account and we forget about you. We want to reach out to you, and also make sure you have a way of reaching out to us if you have any questions or anything along the way. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great day, and until next week, look forward to it. Bye. I hope you enjoyed that video and you find them really valuable for your business and helping you make better decisions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or pass the video on to your friends. Anyway, thanks a lot for that. Have a great day. Bye.